Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. We want to give all praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. The elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, you Akhwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahawada with the lesson.
Hello, I'm CJ Werleman, and in this episode, we reveal how Turkey is on the verge of unleashing hell against the Zionist state of Israel. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now, let's get into it. During the past week, a major news development was deliberately ignored by the Western media, for the simple reason it speaks to Israel's growing weakness in the Middle East. And the word weakness can't be emphasized enough here, given the Zionist-controlled media wants you to believe the opposite is true. That Israel is growing stronger, having completely destroyed Gaza, having pulverized Hezbollah, and having totally neutered the Iranian regime. But this perception of Israeli strength and dominance is nothing more than a carefully manufactured illusion. And you don't need to take my word for it. Instead, focus your attention on the actions of the Israeli government, which convened an extraordinary security consultation on March 25th over fears that Turkey is mobilizing its forces to confront the Zionist state, and soon. These growing Israeli fears and tears come on the back of a report produced by an Israeli government panel on January 7, which concluded that Turkey now represents a bigger threat than Iran. The report cites Israel's growing concerns towards the new Syrian government, which it fears will inspire, unify, and mobilize Islamist forces and factions throughout the Middle East. These fears are exponentially heightened by the presence of Turkish forces in Syria, with Israeli security officials worried the Arab nation will become a Turkish proxy and an essential part of Turkey's ambition to restore the Ottoman Empire to its former glory. Well, on March 24th, Israel's worst nightmare came to fruition when the new Syrian government granted Turkey a sovereign military base in Palmyra, which will be as large as the United States Air Base in Ramstein, Germany, making Turkey's future air base in Syria the largest military air base in the entire world. Also, Turkey has agreed to train and arm the Syrian army, saying that any attack against its forces or assets will be met with overwhelming force. A threat that carries a big punch, given we are talking about the strongest military in the Middle East, parking itself on Syrian soil and along Israel's border.
Another day, another foreign leader threatening Israel. We need to be very strong so that Israel cannot do these ridiculous things to Palestine. Just as we entered Karabakh, just as we entered Libya, we can do something similar to them.
These headlines speak to Israel's growing fears and paranoia towards Turkey's growing foothold in neighboring Syria. The Times of Israel says Turkey must be stopped, as other Zionist outlets hype up the jihadist threat in Syria, while some encourage Israel to build an alliance with Kurdish forces. On Sunday, the Israeli newspaper Ynet News said, Turkey is not Iran, neither in isolation, economy, or influence. It is a dynamic regional power with one foot in the West, major leverage over Europe, and a growing strategic footprint across the East. Make no mistake, this is Israel watching the walls close in. And for this reason, the Israeli military has told Netanyahu to prepare for war against the Muslim superpower.
In Israel.
Yeah, so this is Reuters says BRICS offered Turkey partner country status. Turkish trade minister, right, he says by Reuters, November 13th, 2024. So this is recent. It's not that long ago. This was just in November, right? I believe we're 2025 right now, right? So this is recent, right? Or so they say we're in 2025, right? This is Turkish Trade Minister Ormer Bullock. Yeah, so that wasn't that long ago. See right here, it says right here, it says it again, Ankara. It says November 14th, Ankara. Reuters, Turkey was offered partner country status by the BRICS, right? Group of nations. Trade Minister Omer Bullock said as Ankara continues what is called its efforts to balance its eastern and western ties, right? And they have ties to the BRICS. They have ties to the West via NATO, which that's what actually is going to go into right here. It says Turkey, a NATO member, has in recent months voiced interest in joining the BRICS group of emerging economics comprising, like I said, Brazil. What we said, what it means: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But then look, we got these other ones. You got to remember these, right? Ethiopia, India, which is Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates, right? Yeah, so this is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 3. And thus saith the Lord power, right? Which is really the Lord meaning out of one, right? The power, right? All caps, which goes to Yahweh, right? Which means he is the existing one, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Behold, I am, right? Meaning basically he is, which goes back to or existing one, which is Yahweh, against thee, O Gog, right? Right, the Gog, which is in the land of Magog, right? The chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, right? Which goes into Russia, right? Right. When you go into that understanding, you know that's yeah, Rosh.
Strong's H 7218. Ramath Negev. Ramath Negev.
Yeah.
Second entry. Rosh.
Yeah, Rosh.
Rosh.
Yeah, Rosh. Like Rosh, right? Which meaning head, top, summit, upper, chief, total, summit, height, beginning, head of, man of animals, top, tip, mountain, height of stars, chief, head, man city, right? Nation, right? So the head, right? One of the nation of the BRICS is it'd be Russia, right? Which goes into and then the other one is basically Nasir. So Russia meaning um, um, basically top prince or high prince, or chief prince. Basically, that's what it is. Chief prince. Russia meaning chief prince. That's what Russia means. So that's how we know that that's Russia, right? Back to that. So that's basically meaning Russia. And the Lord said, I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, right? And this one says, I will turn you around and put hooks in your jaws to lead you out with your whole army, your horses and chariots in full armor, a great, I don't even know how to say that word. Slovakia, yeah.
Horde.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Horde, a great horde army with shield and sword, right? And I will put, King James, I will put hooks in your jaws, and will bring thee forth all thy armies, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with buckler and shields, all of them handling swords, right? And the modern day sword is the gun, right? And the ICBM missiles, obviously, because this is going to be a war that's fought way different than any other war that was fought before, because they got unmanned uh, drones and planes and things that are way different, right? So-called modern day war, but in this modern day war, you have players from ancient times, right? So you got Iran, right? Because it's Brazil. BRIC stands for Brazil, India, yeah, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But then it also said that it was going to have Iran with it, which is Iran. Then it also said it was going to have Ethiopia, right? That's attached to the BRICS. So this is literally out of Bible. You're living in biblical times right now, whether you know it or not. Because people like saying, we ain't in the Bible days. Oh yeah, you are. Yes, you are. You're in Bible days more than you know. You're in the final hour of the Bible day. You're in the end of the very end, right? Right? Libya, which kind of pretty much coincides with Egypt, right? So, because that's who joined the BRICS, right? Which they're gonna join them. Egypt and Libya and all these other places are gonna join unto the BRICS with them, and all of them with shield and helmets. And what is that for? For war, right? Right? We got the third war. It says, and Gomer and all of his bands, and to Gomoth of the north quarter, and all of his bands, and many people with thee, right? Yeah, this is institute of creative research, right? This is Ezekiel 38. Talk about Gomer and all his bands, and the house of Tugalmoth and the north country, and all of his bands, and many people with thee, right? It says the New Defender Study Bible notes that Ezekiel 38:6, Gomer was another son of Japhet, right? Or Japheth, right? In the Hebrews, Japheth, because the J was created later, right? This is a father of Tugalmoth in Genesis, right? 10 and chapter 10, verse 2 and 3. His descendants also originated and settled in Asia Minor. Gomer named being preserved today in the Crimea, right? Oh, see, Crimea and Tugalmoth probably in Armenia, possibly also in Turkistan and Turkey, right? So going into that family, right? So those Turkish people, right, or Turkey, actually goes into the Gomer and to Gomoth, right, which goes into those people, right? And it says some of they later migrated in west and gave their name to Germany, right? Too, but basically the point what I'm trying to show is that is basically talking about Turkey, right? So Turkey, right, is there's not going to be, because right now they're saying that they're that article we read said they were in between, and that was in November, right, of last year, right, which is just before the ushering in of the so-called New Year, which is a month later, which is in December 31st. The first will be the New Year, right? So you're like a month or so, couple weeks off from the first of the year. Now here we are in 2025, the New Year, and
Newspaper Ynet News said, Turkey is not Iran, neither in isolation, economy, or influence. It is a dynamic regional power with one foot in the West, major leverage over Europe, and a growing strategic footprint across the East. Make no mistake, this is Israel watching the walls close in. And for this reason, the Israeli military has told Netanyahu to prepare for war against the Muslim superpower.
In Israel, a government commission headed by former Security Council Chief Jacob Nagel has released a report on the defense budget and security strategy. It says the country needs to prepare for a possible future confrontation with Turkey. The Jerusalem Post writes about this. The document mentions the rise to power of pro-Turkish forces in Syria. It is noted that the unification of groups loyal to Ankara in that country poses a threat to Israel's national security.
Israel has become a victim of its own arrogance and hubris, and like a drunk sailor, blindly swinging punches in a dark alleyway, it has fooled itself into believing it can fight and beat anyone, anywhere, at any time. But it's one thing to murder defenseless women and children in Gaza and Lebanon, and it's another thing altogether when confronting a genuine military heavyweight, such as Turkey, which possesses the 8th strongest army on the planet, a full 9 places above Israel. I mean, even Egypt ranks above the Zionist state in terms of military power. However, any conversation that compares Israel's fighting capabilities with another state must begin with the fact that the
Yeah, so I like when I see those things, because my thing is, when in the Bible would it say you would rank any level in military power as being the Israelites, right? Your rank, and which really your military power got to be even better than that. I mean, they basically, if it's not, then you are more foolish than anyone can ever imagine, right? Because you constantly take money from America. You're the greatest welfare state in all the world because you're constantly getting money from America and all around the world to give to Israel, and not just, I guess, maybe just to the elite. But you have to be a fool as even the elite. You have several trillions of dollars, but your military is lacking. But then you're trying to conquer the world at the same time. You're trying to keep your blessing. Well, you must not be really trying to keep your blessing. If you're 17th, but where is that in the Bible that you would be ranking anywhere? Right? The Lord said that He's going to have to come and deliver us. That you at a military, you're trying to deliver yourself, right? At any level, right? So that's why it's imperative that you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians repent, man, because the things that they spill out in these Christian churches, and the way that you believe, and the things that they taught you in schools, and these things are lies, man. There's no way that the Lord said that we will be. The Lord said we will be poor, right? That He will deliver us and put us in that land. Not no signed signature from someone else, someone else who lives somewhere else, right? Lord Balfour, who lived in goddamn London, England, who has nothing to do with the Middle East. How can he sign a thing saying, hey, this is what this is? Now Israel's a state and not a nation, right? So yes, it's definitely their end, according to the Bible, right? Bible prophecy is alive, as you could see.
In Ezekiel 38:39, Russia, Turkey, and Iran involved right now. Things are heating up, and I believe that this war could be starting now because wars take time. World War II, it was, 3.5 years, and before that there was a lot of buildup, but the crescendo, the climax of the war would be what we read in Ezekiel 38 and 39, this army coming down and being destroyed by God. And the army is already becoming these nations today. Turkey, Russia, right? Iran, which is Persia, all these countries coming together already. So this is an amazing thing, you guys.
Yeah, see that little short. These Christians, they could see the prophecies happening. It's definitely jumping off the page, but they think it's going to be in the benefit of them, of the people who's in the land right now, right? Which those are fraudulent people, right? They're They're not the true children of Israel, right? And when this is Zechariah chapter 9 verse 6, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, right? Which that's a port city in Israel, right? And I will cut off the pride of the Philistines, right? Which that's the Philistines goes into them being that was it called, the land that they're destroying right now, which is Palestine. Those Palestinians were actually Philistines, right? Right? Which were actually Africans, but right now those are not African. Those are Ishmaelites pretending to be Philistines or pretending to be Palestinians when they're not. Just like the Israelis are pretending to be Israelites, right, when they're not, right? But that's the thing that's going on. It is occupied, right? It's right here. It says, foreigners will occupy the city of Ashdod, and I will destroy the pride of the Philistines, right? Which goes into that's what's going on right now with the whole thing with Palestine and that happening. But it's all leading up to them being destroyed. All of them, right? Not just the so-called Palestinians. Even the Israelis will have to get out of that land, right? Yeah, so this is Ezekiel chapter 36 and 5 NLT. This is what the sovereign Lord, which his real name is Yahweh, right? Those only begotten Son, which is Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai says, my jealous anger burneth against the nations, right? Plural. Especially Edom, right? And that's who's dwelling in that land right now, who's dwelling in Ashdod, who's dwelling in Israel, saying that they're Israeli and they're Jewish, right? That's who's dwelling in that land. They're really, go back to Esau, they're Amalek, right? Those people are Amalek, right? Because they have sown utter contempt for me by gladfully taking my land for themselves, right? A bastard should dwell in Ashdod, right? They took the Lord's land for themselves, and they gladfully took my land for themselves as plunder, right? And it says in the KJV, therefore, thus saith the Lord, power, the Most High, Yahweh, Basham Yahweh Shai, surely in the fire of my jealousy, I have spoken against the residue of the heathen, which means nations, then and again, residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, right? Whether you're in Russia, whether you're in goddamn Australia, in America, wherever you Edomites are at, the Lord is speaking to all Idumea, right? So all of you want to have to get destroyed. The bastard that dwell in Ashdod, you all have to be destroyed, right? Which have appointed my land unto their possession, right? And that's where they're at, right? Dealing with the chief of Esau, dwelling in that land. But those Edomite, they're all over the world, right? Russia, Australia, South America, you know what I'm saying? Cuba, Colombia, Puerto Rico, Jamaica. I mean, name a place that there ain't an Edomite at, right? I mean, Japan, China. These things they gonna, hey, punishments are coming, man. Judgment is here, man. We're at the end of the end, man. Right? And these are the chief of the nation of Edom, that and which have appointed my land in their possession with joy, with the joy of all their heart. La'ab, it's in their mind. Hey, yeah, we're gonna rule forever. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do all this. We're gonna push forth the charagma across the world, right? Which is the MOTB, which is the CHIP, right? With deceitful minds, right? La'ab, which right says heart going into what your mind, to cast it off for a prey, right? To plunder, right? Which means to rob, to spoil, right? To rob, to get from, right? To get great riches, right? And really to inherit the entire world. That's what they want to do. Push forth the CHIP, right? The micro C hip, right? In your right hand and your forehead to plunder the whole entire world by saying that they're a people that they're not, right? Yeah, so this is Numbers chapter 24, verse 20. It says, and when he looked Amalek, he took up a parable. And when he looked on Amalek, right, which that's who in that land right now, who's a bastard in Ashdod, who took the Lord's land for possession with all joy of his heart, right, to cast it out for a prey. That's who's in that land right now. It's Amalek, right? And so when he looked upon Amalek, he took up a parable and said Amalek was the first of the nations, and right now they're ruling through their international bankers. They're ruling over all the nations, which that's what they're doing. They're pushing forth the CHIP, the micro C hip, where you can't buy or sell except for you have the mark, the charagma, grapho, right? In order to buy and sell. If you don't have that, there's no access to Esau's world, to his to his self gratification and the rejoicing of all his heart, right? And having that land in possession by saying that there are people that they're not, to use color schemes to call us black and call themselves white, which white means pure, innocent, unable to cause harm or this and that, but they've been calling the most harm, and people's minds are they're weak, right? They fall for it every time when we're brown, right? But the truth is coming forth, and the truth is shattering everything that they have done, right? Thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Holy Bible, and that's what's happening now. Where black, the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, we're many shades of brown, what we really are, right? Which we're the real humans, because hue, meaning color, go to science. Hue means color, and man means a man, and we're the only man with color, but we're the only man with the spirit of Yahshua, right? He, Prince of God, right? Goes back to who we are. We're the real children of Israel. None of these people who has the CH, right? Which is a thing meaning pertaining to ish, 8-ish, 12-ish, right? Right? It's like 11:45 You know what I mean? You say it's 12ish. It's almost there. It's 15 minutes to 12. It's almost, but not quite there, right? That's those ishes, those people, right? And they play on words, right? But the thing with this is the Lord word is going to have more power than your deceitfulness of mind, right? Like as it says in the scriptures. But the latter, right, which is just where we're at now, we're in the latter end of all these things. We're in the last days right now. The latter, his latter end shall be as this. Yeah, his latter end shall be that he perish what forever, right? And that's what's coming up, man. And that's what it is. So you people think that the Lord's coming to destroy was it Turkish and Russia and Iran, and it's just them, and then somehow he's gonna leave those other Edomites, which Turkish, a lot of them Turkish people are Edomites, Russia's Edomites, and I don't know about Iran. You might have some here and there, but at the end of the day, they're just heathens. So the Lord's coming to destroy all you heathens and put back the true rulers, starting with Yahweh Shai and King David back on the throne. So, and then this, I'm going to the NLT. Balaam looked over towards the people of Amalek and delivered this message. Amalek was the greatest of the nations, right? And that's where they're at. They're in the top spot. Rather, they play dumb. Like even on that chart, it had them down at 17. When you have the world's trillionaires, forget billionaires, how many countries have the most trillionaires? And all of them going to be from Israel, or you might have them some other places, but they're all going to be Jewish, right? So at the end of the day, it's all smoke and mirrors, right? And it says, but the Lord is going to cause things to not go in their favor, though they're ruling right now. They're on top, right? The greatest of the nations, but right. So the Lord's going to have it all come to an end, but it's what destiny, right? It's your destiny is destruction. So is the people over there in what they call Israel today, right? Right? Which that's what that's a modern day term to call it, Israel, right? It's Yerushalayim, right? It's supposed to be Yerushalayim, right? And we're Yasharallah, right? We're not Israeli. We're Yasharallah. We're not even Israel. We're Yasharallah, man. Right? But we to make it plain English so you people understand, the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian are the Israelites. Right? Or Israel. We're the real true Israel, which goes to Israelites, which are Yasharallah. So with all that, and we give all praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakach Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. The elder bishops, apostles in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners, whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, your Akhwathiim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. And want to give a Kwam Yasharallah and a Baba Ball, Kwam Yasharallah.